Hi kids, our next example is going to be cesium. The first thing you want to do is to remember to mark your period numbers. Don't forget about the bottom two rows. Cesium is located in period 6, group 1. So that's going to be a long one. Again, as we did with arsenic, you're going to start at the very beginning of the periodic table in the 1s, which is hydrogen, and then we're going to fill up the 1s through helium. That's the first 2 electrons, so that's going to be considered the 1s2. Go down to the next period, which is period 2. Fill up the entire s orbital with 2 electrons. That's a 2s2. Continue across period 2 to the p block, and we're going to have to fill that up with 6 electrons. That's period 2, the p block, and it has 6 electrons. So that's a 2p6. The next period is period 3. We're going to fill up the s orbital with 2 electrons. We're in period 3, the s orbital, 2 electrons. That's a 3s2. Continue across to the p orbital in period 3. We're going to have 6 electrons in that p orbital, so that's going to be a 3p6. Continuing down to period 4, fill up the 4s orbital with 2 electrons, so that's a 4s2. Remember that this center section is the d block. Keep in mind from before that it does not correlate to the period number like the s and the p do. Just in case you didn't get that, it's not the same as the period number. It is period number -1. So we are in the fourth period in the d block. That makes this the 3d. Notice that it is entirely filled with 10 electrons, so that's going to be considered a 3d10. After the 3d, we have the p block. That is entirely filled with all 6 electrons. We're in period 4, so that's the 4p6. Continuing down to period 5, the 5s is entirely filled, so that will be considered a 5s2. Again, now we are in the d block again. We will entirely fill up that d block. It is not the same as the period number. It is period number -1. We are in period 5, so this is going to be the 4d block. We filled it with 10, so that's the next thing in our electron configuration is 4d10. Moving on to the p block in period 5, it is completely filled with 6 electrons. That will be considered a 5p6. We're almost done. We have one more to go. And that will be period 6 in the s orbital with only 1 electron. So that's a 6s1. That's a pretty long electron configuration. If you're going to do electron configuration notation, you have to start at the 1s. Start at the very beginning. You know that there is a shorthand notation, and that is the noble gas notation. So what is the noble gas for cesium? Take a moment, look at your periodic table, go to period 5, and follow it all the way to the end to the noble gases, which is group 18. What noble gas would we use for cesium's noble gas notation? Hopefully you came up with xenon. So xenon is the noble gas that we're going to use for the shorthand notation. So we're going to use xenon and go to the next period. Well, that's period 6. This is a very easy noble gas notation because all we have to do is put xenon in brackets, and we only have one block after that, and that's the 6s1. So that is how you would use the periodic table to do both the electron configuration notation and the noble gas notation for cesium. Thanks for listening.